Hi, and welcome to Transparent with Tina. I am Tina Marks, your host. Today's guest is a Holy Fire #3 practitioner. That's Reiki, by the way. Holy Fire #3 practitioner, spiritual medium, and an oracle card reader. He has faced death a couple of times in his life and actually willed his way out of it. He's done a reading on me, so you know what? I always test the proofs in the pudding, and this guy is amazing. He does know his stuff. He is connected. He will be right up. His name is Todd Michael Willis. Welcome, Todd. So good to see your smiling face. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you, Tina?
Great. Another Instagram buddy. I love social media. I really do. I find the coolest people and guests from my shows that turn into friends. And you have actually done a reading on me. And you know, as I mentioned in the intro, you are a Holy Fire #3 practitioner. You're an oracle card reader and you're a spirit medium. Now, before we get into what all of those mean, let's just talk a little bit about how you even got involved. We all know that has to do with the spirit world. Medium is connecting with people from the other side. Yeah. Readings, we know that. We're going to go a little deeper into that, but how did this come about? Did you was this from an early age or how did this happen?
Yes, it is. It definitely came from an early age. I knew from a very, very young age that I was different. I could see things that other people couldn't see. I remember when I was 2.5 years old, believe it or not, I was still in the crib and trying to telepathically communicate with my mother, who was not hearing me. I would see ghosts. I would communicate with people who have crossed over. And
how old were you when you saw ghosts?
Oh, 2.5, 3.
Really? Was it scary for you, or were they good?
Not particularly scary for me. It was just different. I was surrounded by an extended family. At this point, my mother had divorced her first husband and moved back in with her parents. So I was with her and her mother and father and her brother.
Wait a minute. So was that your father?
No, my father had already divorced her, my father, and moved on. So, and that's how I know how old I was, because I remember this time between the two dads. And yeah, I do remember seeing, I remember being in that crib and seeing things flying around the room. And it was just, it was a little disconcerting for me, but again, I didn't have anyone to talk to about it. You know, what do you think about these things flying around the room? You know, I didn't have the language, I didn't have the words yet. And then later on in life, I kind of really, I felt like I had access to information, but I wasn't always able to speak the words and communicate what I was feeling inside, because I was very much isolated through a variety of situations that befell me. And I had a very interesting experience at age 14, I was in Stanford Hospital. They were trying to figure out why I wasn't growing. And one of the tests that they administered was insulin, and I went into a coma for about 15 minutes.
Well, wait a minute, what do you mean you weren't growing?
My pituitary gland had stopped working, sending the growth hormone signals to the body.
And this was 14. How long before that did you stop growing?
A few years.
Oh,
but we finally, yeah.
So like how big were you at 14?
I was dainty. I was very small.
Okay.
And that was part of the isolation, right? Because you're different from everyone else. And I had a spiritual experience during this coma. I was literally 1 millimeter away from death. My blood sugar went down to 11 milligrams per deciliter. And at 10, you're dead. You're not coming back. And so it was one of those things where that sparked more imagination, more research. And it was like, yeah. And you know, it's interesting. in terms of using these abilities, that didn't come until later in life. I never really thought about doing this. What's happened was, it was my mother who in the late 70s was plagued by IBS. And it's a very crippling condition. The pain is just unimaginable. And it is a kind of condition where you can't move around a lot. You can't go anywhere. You have to be. And unfortunately—
Just in case people, you're talking about irritable bowel syndrome, correct?
Yes.
Okay, just
exactly.
All right, go ahead. Okay, just so in case people didn't know what that is.
It does connect, trust me.
Okay.
And what happened was, there was nothing that Western medicine could do to help her at that time. She went to several doctors, and there was nothing that could cure the condition. And somehow in desperation, she found meditation. Turns out that's what helped her. At first, just lessening the condition, and then finally completely doing away with it altogether. So
wait, she doesn't have it anymore through meditation. Nope. She healed herself through meditation.
Exactly.
IBS.
Exactly. See, this is my first clue here. And then yeah, and then she got in contact with her guides. She kept meditating, and then she became, in contact with the guides, and she would channel information for me, and it would turn out to be 100% accurate. I mean, it was spooky accurate.
Well, what do you mean she would channel information for you?
I would ask her questions about her experiences, and then she would say, "I have a message for you. You're going to meet this person in 2 years."
So she became a medium.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Exactly. And
so are you saying that, like, she didn't display any kind of psychic ability before this, and then after she started meditating?
No, but again, neither did I, but I think it was all deep, very, very deep. The ability was there. The expression was what was missing. Okay.
Okay.
And and so it was a series of explorations, just year after year, working with her and realizing that she's getting this information from somewhere, ostensibly her guide or guides. And this information is true. It is true concurrently with what I was going through right now at the present moment. Also true with what was about to happen. And I thought, well, there's something to this, right? This is not the person that I grew up with. The person I grew up with is very different and would not have given a second thought. And so therefore I started tapping in, because I saw what she was doing. I started tapping in, and I realized that I had the gift as well. And it brought me back to my early childhood, because I started remembering things about the telepathy, seeing ghosts. I mean, I had one time, I was 5 years old, and I had this little kid. We had just moved to Palo Alto, and had this little kid whispering in my ear a couple of nights. He just would not stop talking. I mean, I could hear him, which it's a strange thing.
So it was a spirit, is what you're saying?
Yeah, he had crossed over.
Okay, right. And what was he saying to you?
It's very difficult to tell you, because this would have been 1968 or 69. And I was very young, and I don't remember. It was very rapid fire. He definitely wanted to get my attention. He wanted to be with me. He wanted to kind of latch onto me, and spirits do this. He was not the first. And then the healing came later too, because again, there was no thought, there was no forethought. It was just, I would see someone and place my hands a few inches, and they would be guided to where they needed to go, and the healing would take place. It wasn't until many, many years later that I discovered Reiki, where you're channeling this information, this energy, not using your own.
Okay, so now that we've, I said we're going to talk about that later, but this is a perfect time, because I know that the Reiki, it's for healing, but I thought it was more, is it, well, you tell me what it is. I thought it was more based on like touch and using certain acupressures, but you're saying it's more like channeling.
Reiki,
tell me, I'm a little confused here.
Not a problem. Reiki is universal life energy. It's two kanji characters. These are Japanese characters. One is for universal life force. I'm sorry, one is universal and the other one is life force energy. Qi is similar to Qi energy in Chinese medicine. It's the idea that energy flows through us. And so it's based on the idea that there is a universal energy life source that surrounds us.
Yes.
And we can access by channeling it. And sometimes a Reiki practitioner will touch someone that they are working on, if that's okay, but it doesn't have to be a touch. You can actually have your hands a few inches, 6 inches. I've heard of even 12 or 48, 24 rather. But yeah, so the idea is that there is a meditation that you go through to kind of become the perfect channel, and there is training that you go through, and I would encourage anyone interested in developing this to go to reiki.org and learning more. I went through a friend and I took Reiki level 1 and 2, and this is Holy Fire III Reiki. So this is a specific kind of Reiki. It's more new, more up to date. And the thing is with Reiki, you're channeling that information from the universe through your body, out through your palms, and to the client, to the person that you're serving. And the interesting thing about this, because it is universal life energy, the distance is not important. I could literally heal you if you were on the opposite end of the earth. It would not matter whatsoever. That's what I'm doing.
So let's be clear on the healing. So you can heal somebody from sickness or heartache, or, I mean, what's the limitations on the healing?
The limitations I have found is usually based on the person that I'm working with and how open they are to healing. Reiki can be used for pain management, relaxation, stress reduction, healing after surgery. There are hospitals that are now using Reiki practitioners in their recovery rooms and other areas of the hospital. Also, even prep for surgery, I've heard. So the healing can take place on the physical, but also with the emotional too. And I've also found mental as well. A lot of people, when I connect with some people, I see a lot of activity in the brain. And when I do Reiki on them, I find that this activity gets a little bit slower and more coherent, would be a good word to describe it.
Okay.
So yeah, it is.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, it's physical and it is emotional. But then again, a lot of this depends upon the level of training of the person who is doing the Reiki, what kind of, if that person can get into a receptive state beforehand. That's very important, because you as a channel, you have to be clear as possible. It's like a hollow bone is what I've heard.
Yeah, right.
And the practitioner, the person that you are practicing upon, has to be receptive.
Receptive, I was going to say. Yeah, they can't be
Exactly.
resistant. It's not going to work.
Right.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. Can anybody be a Reiki practitioner? Or do you have to have certain talents or kind of born with certain blessings?
Well, I certainly did not go to college or study to become Reiki before, July of last year. I mean, I was doing it using my own energy, and I would say yes, especially those people who can and know how to use their own energy, because they are already working with energy.
Right.
The difference with Reiki is that you're channeling it from a different source.
And what about being a medium, a psychic? Is everybody? I've heard that everybody has psychic abilities.
Yes, that is true.
True.
That is true. It's a matter of the degree to which we are tuned in to the frequencies, right?
Right.
And even the most attuned psychic or medium will have good days and bad days. They'll have days which they're not getting anything, and that could be because of what's going on with them. But it also could be what's going on with the person that they're reading. That the guides don't want them to know all the information.
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I've seen, what's his name? Tyler. I think it's Tyler. the Hollywood medium, and he's,
Oh yeah, I know who you're talking about.
yeah,
Mhm.
he's like spot on every single time. And I sit there and I get nervous for him when I watch him, because I'm going, I was thinking about that. I was thinking, you know, one time, does like, maybe he's just, because he's always drawing, you know, it helps him to like tune in. And I'm thinking one day, I wonder if he's just going to go, sorry, not getting anything.
It could happen. It could
Yeah,
happen, but he'll find, I'm sure that he would find a way to ameliorate that perceived issue.
right.
You know, when you've been doing this for a long time, you learn that even if you're not getting something um, from the person's guide or guides, or sometimes when it goes really deep, I can get contact with the angels. That's not in every person's case, but even then you can pick up on signals. You can pick up on the person's energy itself, themselves.
Well, what's the difference between guides and angels?
Oh, a guide is a soul. So we are basically a soul inhabiting a body.
Yes.
And a guide is someone who has incarnated on Earth or other worlds and is done. There is no further need to incarnate, or they're at the end of their cycles. They've already kind of learned everything they need to do, experience everything they need. They are at the point where they no longer need to incarnate, but rather need to serve those who are still here on Earth. An angel is different. From what I understand, the energy matrix is different. And an angel is someone who has never incarnated on Earth. At least that's what I've heard.
So they've
So
never been
it's
to
a different
Earth.
classification. It's a much higher frequency. If that answers your question.
So they've never lived in a physical body.
As far as I understand, again, I'm not the ultimate I'm not the ultimate subject matter expert on this, and I am sure that there are people who will counter with examples that go against what I've just told you. But from what I've heard from my mother, who is very gifted, and apparently I have inherited some of that ability as well, that's what I'm hearing, is that the angels are never.
Well, you know, I do believe in this, and you know, I read my angel cards. It's by Doreen Virtue. I don't know, Dr. Doreen
Yes.
Virtue, and I actually read one of her books too. And I really do believe in afterlife. I believe in angels. I believe in guides. I believe in psychic. You know, for myself, you know, when my brother passed away when I was 9 years old, he came back to me, and when my father passed away, he came back to me, and I mentioned this on the show not too long ago. My brother came back to me in a form, you know, and it's like a glowing light with his physical body form. My father came back in a temperature. So have you ever had that? I mean,
oh yes,
you can either come back in temperature.
I've had spirits who have passed on, who have appeared as a dark shadow. I was sitting with my partner watching TV, and all of a sudden this dark shadow whizzed right through our front door. We both looked at each other like, did you see that? Yes, I saw that.
Right.
I've had ghosts come through as scents. So just perfume.
That was the one. That was the one I was missing. So it's temperature, scent, and sight. That's what it is. Yeah. It's okay. Okay. So when do you know? I mean, is it your client's choice, or do you make a recommendation? Because we haven't talked about the oracle card reading. I think that's the one you did on me, right?
No. We did the spirit guided message for you.
Spirit guided message. And let me tell you,
I had to go into a trance, deep meditation on you, and then I was getting all sorts of images. And then we discussed them. Yeah. The oracle card readings is really for those people who have one question. A question like, what's going on with my life today? Should I move here? Should I take this job? Should I leave my boyfriend? Yeah, etc.
Right.
Sometimes it's of a general nature. They just kind of want to get the lay of the land as it is right now. And that's what those oracle cards are good for. But when you have reached a point in your life when you're starting to ask the real tough questions, like, why am I here? What's my purpose? Am I aligned? Am I not aligned? You know, why am I having a problem with this person? You know, these kinds of questions that are much more broad-based, that are much more important and not as timely, but more timeless, that's when people come to me. In fact, I think that's my most popular reading right now. Most people are really drawn to that.
Spirit medium.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah. Because the Reiki would be more for healing, and this would be more for your intellectual, spiritual growth.
Well,
so,
the way I'm looking at this is that all of these are healing in their own way. The Reiki is energy healing.
Yes.
The readings that I do are information healing. So either giving the person the reassurance that they are where they need to be, or giving them suggestions for how they can get back on their path, for how they can honor their themes. So that in itself can be healing. And this just came to me in the last few days. So this is an excellent question. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So I was going to ask you, when you are doing a reading on somebody and you see maybe death in their future or something, coming that's not so pleasant to tell them, how do you deal with that?
I have not ever had that situation, if you can believe that or not.
Wow.
I have never, no, and it very well could be that the guides don't want me to say that, because first of all, death, even though we don't always look at it this way, is a personal choice. We have several exit points in our life. We can take the first one, the second one, the third one, however many that we have prearranged. So for me, I've had several exit points already that I could have crossed over. I chose not to. And
okay,
a lot of this is free will, so I
want to stop you right there. When you said you chose, so you had exit points when you were in the coma, right? Is that what you're saying?
Possibly one of them, possibly.
Okay, when you say you chose, so you were given that choice, is what you're saying.
And before I incarnated on this planet, I was shown the main course of my life, and throughout the main course of my life, I had exit points where if I decided at that moment that I was just done, I could leave. The coma was probably one of them. There was another one that happened in the 90s. So I think 2 or 3 exit points I've already had, and I have not taken them. So again, it goes back to free will. I can't. If there is death in that person's future, it's because of their free will, and I can't.
Okay, so why did you choose not to take the exit points?
Well, because I had a lot of work to do. I had a lot of work to do on myself. And I'm like, if I had left at 14, look at all that I would have missed. Oh
yes.
My God.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. So no, I mean, even when I was 19, I was suicidal, and I thought I really thought my life is over. I don't know if that
why did you feel that way?
Oh, that's a long story. But suffice it to say, I was on my own for the first time, and I was not emotionally or constitutionally prepared for that responsibility. And it was quite the disaster. And sometimes you think your life is over, and then you look at your life in another way, and it's like, no, there's so much more out there.
So is that how you got out of that, feeling like you didn't want to commit suicide? How did you get out of that? I mean, I do ask the hard questions.
Well, I took the pills and oh yeah. And I could feel myself going under, and it was a very physical sensation. And then part of me just said, not today. It's not going to happen today. No, absolutely not. You are not going to let this happen to you. It was almost like a fear, animalistic thing that came over me when I took the pills. I was like,
when you finally, because it's like, this is it. There's no turning back if I wait much longer. Right. So you got help in time? Is that what you're saying?
Somehow I did get help in time. I did not get help from necessarily everyone that should have been around to help me, but I definitely helped myself. Part of me, my higher self, you might even say, just stepped in and said, no, this is not happening. You've got more to do.
Well, but you already swallowed the pills. So what did you do, Todd? How did you get the pills?
I willed myself to not go under.
So you didn't go to the hospital and get your stomach pumped. You did this all just by your sheer will.
And there's another story too that I could tell you, but we probably don't have the time, but
I have
yes.
time. Go ahead, tell the story.
All right. This would have been 1996. My best friend and I were going to go to New York for the first time, and I had been having dreams of New York. I've been thinking about New York. Turns out my last lifetime was there. I had an abscessed tooth at the time, and I was taking penicillin to treat the infection. And we landed in New York, and I thought everything was going to be hunky-dory, and it turned out I was getting progressively worse every day. And it got to the point where I couldn't even tell time. And I said, I told my friend, I wrote her a note. I said, I have to go home. I am deathly ill. I'm going to die here in New York. And paid the hotel bill, took off. The infection by this time had gotten to my brain because I could not tell time. It was deathly difficult. It was just like the most intensive mental activity just to figure out how much time do I have in the hotel lobby before I have to go outside, hail a cab to go to LaGuardia. Okay. So then I get on the plane, come home. I'm met by my boyfriend in a limo, and he takes me home. We do the, and I go straight to bed. For the next 3 days, I was in my bed. I neither consumed nor used the facilities. I was there, in and out of consciousness, hallucinating wildly. In another person, I would have died. Seriously, that infection went to my brain. Mm-hmm. And when it does that, that's serious. That's where you call code blue and you get the, it didn't. I willed myself out of that existence, out of that. And it's so incredible when I tell my friends about this, about the suicide and how I willed myself out of that and how I willed myself. They don't realize that this fragile exterior hides this core of carbon steel, this iron will to live and to love and to experience. And so that's really who I am.
Thank you for sharing that. And we're going to get more into that. We're going to take a quick break, and I'm going to dive in a little bit more into that when we get back.
This podcast is brought to you by Danette May and Mindful Health LLC, featuring Danette May's top superfood product from her Earth Echo Foods line, Cacao Bliss. Nothing feels better than being able to enjoy rich, smooth, creamy chocolate and knowing you're doing something great for your body. It starts with 100% organic cacao beans that are naturally kissed by the sun, maintaining its miraculous health benefits. It's then blended with turmeric, MCT oil, coconut, Himalayan sea salt, cinnamon, and black pepper for the perfect blend to make you feel your best. The result? Fall in love with a truly decadent, healthy, guilt-free chocolate, removing cravings, facilitating weight loss, boosting your energy, and reducing inflammation with one simple drink. Not only that, it's friendly to paleo, gluten-free, keto, vegan, and vegetarian diets. For the last 8 years, Earth Echo Foods has been a leader in the superfoods market and are proud to have served millions of customers worldwide. Use the code TRANSPARENT and receive 15% off your purchase today. Go to earthechofoods.com/transparent with Tina.
So, everything that you just said, I completely resonate with. And, I've always believed that everything happens for a reason and when it's your time. And I think, when my brother was killed when I was 9 years old, my mother was very far along spiritually. And I'll never forget, she said everything happens for a reason. And so she was crying for days, you can imagine, after losing her son. And I said, well, Mom, if everything happens for a reason, then why are you still crying? And she, without blinking an eye, she just said, because I miss him. But she never was like angry at God, so that was my example. I mean, I really do believe everything happens for a reason. And I believe when it's your time to go, it's your time to go. However, having said that, I think you need to honor yourself, your life, your body, and those around you, because if you're, for example, trashing your body, you can go, well, it's, if it's my time to go, it's my time to go. Well, no, God gave you a brain for a reason too. So you have to honor the life force and your creator as well, and the way you treat yourself and other people. But I think if you're doing that, and I felt that too, I'm like, I have no fear of dying. no fear of dying. I'm leaving that up to God, the universe, when that's my time to go. I don't feel like it's my time. Just like you said, I feel like I know I'm a messenger, and I feel like I've got so much more work to do. That's what I feel. And it's not for my gain. It's for the well-being of everybody around me. It's not like, oh, I haven't gotten this in my life yet, or I haven't gotten that in my life yet. It's more about, I just feel like, the older I get, the more I have to share, the more people I know, the more people I want to share, and so forth. And so I do believe that there are angels and there's guides. And, for example, the medium reading that you did on me, some of the things you said was, I was the king of Denmark, and, it was just one of them. And I'm going to share this. Some of my lifetimes, I started off with, good intentions, and then my ego got in the way. And that's when I had my fall, was because, then I became corrupt. This is like the old story, right? Too much power, you get corrupt. So let me ask you, when you do a reading on something, like for me, because we actually haven't talked since then, and I've been wanting to ask you this question: how does this information help somebody become more aligned and spiritually aware and further their spiritual growth by having these readings?
Yeah. By understanding the themes that they're working on in this lifetime, and seeing past patterns. Okay, and recognizing them. It's not just the power. You were also what I call pogoing. You would take a very difficult life, and your guides would say, no, 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 but you took it anyway, and it was like too much. And then you would say, okay, I'm going to take it easy now. Difficult life, easy life. You kept on pogoing, and I saw this. And it's what happened was you kind of stayed in the same place for a little bit too long. What you thought was too long. Again, there is no judgment.
I feel that in this lifetime, I've done that too.
Yeah, well,
I feel like,
and see that's the other thing.
You know what, Todd, that's interesting. You just said that. I didn't mean to cut you off, but that's so interesting you said that, because I was just telling my best friend the other day, I said, I go, and then I hit a wall. And then I just feel like,
I knew I got that information for a reason. Because that was the very first thing I got with you. It was like, boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, I go, and then I hit a wall, and then I and then it takes me a while to kind of get back up. Not as long as it used to, but I mean, I was trying to figure that out. And if what would you suggest for that?
I would suggest listening to your guides. I would suggest more meditation. The meditation, as I gave you the specific example with my mother, is not only healing, but it's also who really do want to talk to you. It's just that when we're go in everyday lifetime, our brain is too active. We can't receive those messages. We just can't. So try meditation.
Yes.
Try actual practice and see what information comes to you. You might actually be getting the same information that I was getting when I was meditating. And the reason why I give you these lifetimes is because they're usually not random. They usually are all about, here's the theme, and here's how these lifetimes fit into this theme. And here's why you weren't completely successful, or here's why you were successful, right? I see you eventually moving towards accepting the mantle of being an educator, not only in this lifetime, but also on the other side. So this is a very high, it's almost like you want to go to the top of a mountain and speak your truth. You can do that here, but you can also do that in the spirit world as well. You can be a lot of help for people because you've been through it.
Right, exactly. And so meditation, let me just ask you about meditation, because there are guided meditations, and I've kind of been getting into that where somebody's talking the whole time. I don't see a way to access spirit if somebody's talking in your ear the whole time.
No.
Right?
Guided meditations are usually very directed at a single problem. Yeah. And so usually the ones that I'm seeing are about relaxation. They're about pain management. I'm plagued with migraines. So once in a while, in fact, I had one 2 days ago, and unlike normally where I would have to end my work early and sleep it off, I actually, by the power of my mind, by power of willpower, I said, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to work. It was the most magnificent thing. I just had to share that. But yeah, they're very directed. A lot of these also about chakra balancing, about relaxation, pain management, and also just to get you into a more open state. But the kind of meditation that you need to do needs to go one step beyond that. You need to go one step beyond and sit in the stillness and the silence. Because what happens is you may think things are contracting, but this awareness becomes much more expanded because there's no other room. Yeah, there's no other room for anything else.
Yeah.
This is, yeah.
Yeah, no, and I did a show many years ago, and all the benefits of it, from physical health to everything. It's just, so what would you recommend? Once a day, twice a day?
Twice a day for 10 minutes minimum. 10 minutes minimum.
Yeah.
Now, there is a study that came out that said even 8 minutes a day is enough. I'm still going to stick by my guns. What I'm going to say is that after breakfast, 10 minutes, and right before you go to bed, 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And the one before you go to bed, I want you to visualize reclaiming your energy to you. During the day, you expend energy on things, on people, situations. I want you to reclaim that energy.
Reclaim the energy. I love that. And what do you think of visualizations?
Oh, I love them. I mean, that's how
things. Yeah.
Often when I haven't been able to make the leap from here to here, I use my visions, and that helps me get from where I am right now to where I want to be. And often the visualizations also help me to deal with pain, or often to help me when I'm doing sessions for clients, because I'm like, okay, I need to step in this person's spirit, and I'm just going to visualize that I'm there, right? I'm going to visualize that I'm already there, that I'm not sitting here in front of you. I'm right there.
I see.
Yeah, it's a very much of a connecting device. You want to go from here to here, visualization will take you there.
So how often do your clients see you for their readings? I mean, would you say, is there a certain amount of visits before that where they start seeing benefits of maybe opening up to their own energies, their own spirits, or anything? Or
it varies big time. I did a Reiki healing session for a friend of mine, and she is plagued by constant pain, plus a whole bunch of other things that have happened to her of a quite tragic medical nature. And I wasn't expecting much in terms of results, but I did do something that I normally don't do when I'm a Reiki. I actually went on intuition. I said, I'm not going to do the traditional hand movements, hand positions. I'm going to go based on what I think is going to help her most. And when we got on the phone after the 30 minutes were up, she was practically in tears. Her pain was completely gone, and she had been bedridden. And then there are times when I do Reiki and it doesn't do anything because they're not open. Now, in terms of the readings, universally, I get good reviews. People feel like they've been served. I don't get a lot of repeat clients. I have some who've come back and wanted follow-ups, but this is not the main thing that I do. This is not how I occupy most of my time, since I do have a day job. So, and I don't have a lot of clients right now, currently. Most of what I do, how I serve right now, is through Clubhouse. So I'm on Clubhouse and I'm doing Reiki healing rooms. I'm doing readings.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. So would you announce that on your Instagram before, like the day before you're going to be on Clubhouse, so people know?
Yeah, usually.
So you do
usually.
healing. Well, that's great. For anybody that needs a healing, they can go see you on Clubhouse. That's fantastic. And one last thing, you brought up intuition. For me, you know, I always make my decisions on intuition. You know, I really feel like that is the whisper of God and that life force, the universal intelligence, whatever it is. And, you know, I do know that when your mind is busy, you can't hear your intuition, just like you can't hear it. Yeah. So that is another reason for meditation. So you can calm your mind down, so you can access, because, you know, we want these answers but, you know, we want them the way we want the answer. And, you know, we have to be open to other suggestions. Like I always say, don't be attached to the outcome. You know, you have the question, be receptive to whatever that answer is, and have trust and faith that is always guiding your highest and best potential and use, right? Even though it didn't feel like that. And that's something that I did this year. I completely surrendered my life, you know, to God and the universe, and just obeying and not resisting. And my life has completely changed. And yeah, it's a little scary at times because I don't know what's next. And my logical mind gets involved and says, are you crazy? What are you doing? You know, but I know better, because every time I do this, even though I don't see it at the time, and it might be uncomfortable, but let me tell you something, you know, if you want to move forward, you're going to be uncomfortable. But every single time I get through it, I'm in a better and higher place and more willing and able to serve other people. So we're speaking the same language.
Beautiful.
So, okay. So Todd, where do people find you?
Oh, I have a website. It's heart-sage.com.
Mm-hmm.
You can also type heart sage as one word, .life. That's another way to get there. I'm on Instagram at heart_sage. There's a link to my website there. There's also a button that you can use to schedule service if you already know the service you want. Otherwise, you go to my website and read more about what I have to offer. I'm on Facebook. I have a Facebook page. I believe it's Heart Sage, one word, .me. And then I have a Twitter account, which I believe is heartsage_me. So variations on it.
You got it all covered there. Well, it's been such a pleasure having you on. Is there any last takeaways that you want to share with our audience?
There is such a need for healing in this world, even those people that don't recognize it in themselves. There is so much room for healing. I want everyone to kind of collectively take a breath and realize that healing is possible. You're not trapped. There is no situation for which you cannot extricate yourself. I'm here to help heal the world one person at a time. So if there's anything that I can do personally, let me know. I love working with Tina. Obviously, she's an awesome individual, and
thank you.
And of course, when I did that reading, I was like, wow, powerhouse. But no, the healing is so needed. So please try to acknowledge that in your own life. Wherever
and any of you that are doubting this at all, let me tell you, what he came up with, you know, you've watched a couple of my shows, but other than that, you don't know anything about me. And I am telling you, it resonated so deeply with me. It wasn't like, that doesn't make any sense. I'm like, well, that makes sense. Yeah, well, that makes sense. So, and it was so detailed. It's fascinating. It's fascinating. I highly recommend any of you that are looking for healing, looking for, you know, pieces of the puzzle of why you are, because it really does. I mean, your past lifetimes, you know, it can actually clarify your journey on this lifetime, you know, because if you know what the past ones were, because that's why we keep coming back to this planet, is because we didn't get it right the last time. I'm hoping this is my last time. Not at this time. All right. Well, thank you everybody for watching. Thank you, Todd. And for those of you who have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do so. It's Tina Marks TV, and we will see you next week right here. Have a great week.